Hello and welcome, TBU fans. My name is Hex, and this is your weekly recap for the 5th week of the Battle Union. Unfortunately, one is not able to make it with us today due to scheduling issues, and I really wanted to get this up today. So, without further ado, let's just get into the battles. But before we do, I will ask you to check the description, check out all the coaches, check out the playlist as usual. So, let's begin with our games. We're going to start off with the Birmingham Spritzies, coached by Alec, up against the Harlem Globetrotters, coached by Kyle, and we will have a 3-0 victory in favor of the Harlem Globetrotters. As you can see, we do have a couple of new faces, this Shuckle and the Sigilif. That Shuckle gonna be a huge pain in the Birmingham Spritzies side because it manages to set up sticky webs, and due to an unfortunate crit on a U-turn, there was no opportunity for Alex to get rid of them with his defog Mega B-Drill, and at that point, once you lose the opportunity to defog the webs, Lucario comes in and just picks up a lot of kills. There was an interesting exchange with the Lando getting sacked off turn 1 to a Sigilus Ice Beam, but that's really none here or there once the Shuckle died to the U-turn, and Kyle got all the momentum he needed to pick up his kills once the sticky webs were basically permanently on the field. There's no opportunity for B-Drill to get that off, and pretty much an open and shut game after that. Kind of unfortunate, but we'll have to see. This is Kyle's clawing back into his rankings, and hopefully he'll be able to make that playoff run. And that will lead us to our second game, which is going to be the Drizzy Weevils, coached by Cloud, up against the Oakland Raiders, coached by L5. And unfortunately, L5 is notorious now for waterfall flinches and all the interesting things that come with that. We're going to see a 3-0 victory in the Rose Raiders' favor here. Now, this game had the potential to be really interesting considering both of the teams. We do have the super heavy offensive version of Cloud's team. You might say, like, oh, he has a Celestial and a Donphan. How offensive can it be? That was a max offense, pretty much max speed Donphan, and a setup Celesteela. There was a lot of potential offensive potential. I apologize for my faux pas, but there was a lot of offensive potential coming from the Weevils. But as I said before, the waterfall flinch on that Donphan basically meant the Sharpedo was super healthy, and with the very healthy Mega Sharpedo, there isn't much opportunity for his setup sweepers, being the Thundurus and the Celesteela, to set up, and the game was somewhat trivialized after that point. This game had a lot of potential to be really cool with Cloud's offensive sets and L5's ingenuity, but the waterfall kind of made it a little bit trivial. Well, we'll have to see how much it really mattered. The game would have been much more interesting if that game played out normally, but it was going to be a 3-0 in L5's favor. Unfortunate to see not clean games, but these teams are more than likely going to meet in the finals or playoffs in some way or fashion, so it's very likely to see this matchup again, hopefully a cleaner matchup indeed. Coming up next is our matchup between the Mammoths and the Tennessee Dynamos, and as you can see, the final undefeated team has fallen to the Mammoths 2-0 in their favor. Now, this match was really cool. Both teams had really cool sets, both teams had really good man mode plays, and I really thought this was an amazing game to watch. There was a couple games that were just must see. You gotta watch one of these matches. This is one of them. There is one that's going to be a little bit later on that's also fantastic indeed. This match up is going to be slightly in Jim's favor just because of the Victini and Garchomp being mean men indeed. But of course, you have Megalop, you have Shandy, you have a bunch of scary stuff on the Tennessee Dynamos side too. As you can see, the Mammoths are going to get a 2-0, and this is kind of interesting to say. It was just a really well-played game. Both teams had really cool back and forth plays, but I really think the point that Jim had it was, I think he had the Comfey in on the either Sneasel or Megalopony, I don't remember exactly, but on the switch to Nidoqueen, he switches back immediately into the Victini, and now we have Victini versus Nidoqueen, both at basically full health, but Victini gets a huge hit off on the Nidoqueen, and that basically means that Nidoqueen's on the back foot. Ethan has to blow his Healing Wish on his Megalopony to even have a chance to get his fairies like Comfey and the Alolan Ninetales, the Comfey being the scary one. Yeah, it was just really interesting game to watch. There wasn't really that much hacks. There was like high rolls, but Ethan was in a situation where he was bound to get high rolled eventually, but it really came down to just a really great game to watch. Make sure you watch it. Jim's going to pull out the 2-0. He's going to buff his season up to 3-2, which is great because his division is really tight right now. And also, the Tennessee Dynamo is going to pick up their first loss. Kyle is only one game away, even with his Haxie 2-week fiasco. It is going to be interesting to see if Kyle can take the win from the division from Ethan. But as we can see, there are chinks in the armor. There is a chance that Ethan could fall to Kyle. Very great game to see nonetheless. Coming off a very exciting game, we kind of have a very lame, boring, uninteresting game. It's not really that interesting to talk about. The Pittsburgh Pyro, coached by Slyro, is up against the Portland Timbers, coached by RTK. Yeah, 3-0 victory for Slyro. He brought the Mega Wawa, the Volcanion, the Uxie, the Thunderous, the Vaporeon, and the Drampa up against the Electivire, the Metagross, the Tapu Fini, the Zygarde, and the Sylvalian Hypno. Pretty boring match. Nothing really interesting happened, so we should basically move on to the next game, other than one thing. The Snake went Megazord, I'm sorry. So the Snake, not supposed to go Megazord, did go Megazord, and so whoops, my bad. That's not supposed to happen. At the end of the day, it's my fault. I'm the Jenner. I'm sorry. I take full responsibility for it. But at the end of the day, they already disconnected once. They were already in a recreation. And this happened so late in the game that RTK was like, fuck it, I'll take a 3-0. I'll basically sack my Zygarde, and we'll see what happens from there. They didn't want to recreate. We offered them the recreation. They were so tired that they didn't really want to do that. So RTE is going to basically forfeit the match by surrendering his Zygarde, which is really unfortunate because all the effort that went into that game, recreating it twice on Wi-Fi, they made a decision, we agreed with it, and that's how it's going to go. I apologize sincerely, because it basically means that RTK's season is done for the most part. It wasn't looking too great to begin with, but I basically killed his season, and I feel really bad for that. But, whoops. Next game. Segue, our next game is going to be Paul of the West Coast Wingles up against Trev of the Houston Texans, and unfortunately Paul's going to pick up his 5th loss of this season, but Paul is not an 0-5 team. He played this game fantastically. It is really unfortunate to put another loss on his tally, but this game was played so well by Paul. It just happened to be that a couple rolls and a couple 30% didn't go in his way. Mega Alakazam got a roll through Chople and Sandstream on the Tyranitar and killed him from 70%, even though there was a bunch of bulk invested. And yeah, it was really unfortunate. If he got the kill on the Mega Alakazam right then and there, this game was a lot more interesting for Paul. He also had a potential salvage point with the Mew, but unfortunately he got a Dark Pulse flinch on his Licky, which means he couldn't get any damage on the Mega Alakazam. And yeah, unfortunate, but don't let this dishearten you. Paul is still amazing at this game, and he played this game really, really well. Trev, of course, played well as well, but this game was just really cool to watch. I really, really implore you to watch this game because there is some really well-played Pokemon here. There was a turning point in this season. This is the game. I really hope Paul pulls his season through. He definitely shows he has the skills. I would really look forward to these last 3 games from Paul. Give it the biggest shout of his life, even though he has 0 playoff chances after L5's win against Cloud. That's going to be this game. We're going to move on to our last one, which is going to be the unfortunately last game for Sinister Sableye. After this game, he did choose to leave the Battle Union on his own terms. We did not kick him out. We do wish him the very best on his future endeavors. He wanted to do some personal growth, and it was not possible while staying in the Battle Union, so we do wish him the very best. The game wasn't all that too interesting. This is basically Frito hazard stacking and getting a lot of damage, and Peyton's mom's just dying. We do really wish Peyton the best in his future, even though it's not going to be with us. The last games are going to be kind of formality. Chaos is going to be bringing them in. Chaos is bad, of course. He's going to lose those games because he is Chaos. But if he does, it's going to be funny, and we'll have some comedy reels for the last few games. So, on that note, we will head into our Week 6 matchups, where we will start once again with the Birmingham Spritzies up against the Meath Mammoths Wines. Now, this is a super duper important divisional match, and it basically determines whether or not Jim will pull away with the divisional victory, or Alex potentially will tie up the division all over again, so we'll have to see what will happen there. Our next matchup is going to be the Harlem Globetrotters versus Chaos with the Miami Dolphins. Now, Chaos is bad. He will lose. Kyle probably doesn't lose too often, especially to Chaos. Next matchup, we have the Houston Texans versus the Drizzy Weevils. Now, this is a really cool matchup because, of course, we have Drizzy Weevils losing their second game to the Oakland Raiders. This will basically determine whether or not he has a chance for the divisional bye. If he does win against the Houston Texans, this will either lock up his potential divisional victory. If not, maybe has the potential to change up who gets the bye in the conference. So we'll have to see on that. Scary team versus unconventional thinking. We'll have to see where this goes. We'll go into our next game, which is going to be the Oakland Raiders versus the Portland Timbers. Be afraid of the man with nothing left to lose. I apologize to to RTK for that Zygarde mishap. But yeah, he has nothing to lose at this point. He could go all out crazy, and if we know something about L5, he loses to all out crazy. So let's go into our next match, which is going to be the Pittsburgh Pyroar versus the West Coast Wingulls. This is going to be a divisional match. It doesn't matter for Paul, but it matters a lot for Sly. We'll have to see if Paul can get his first win, or if Sly can potentially get the divisional win now that he's all tied up with Cloud. We're going to go into our next matchup, which is going to be the Tennessee Dynamos versus the Welchions. Now, as I said before, Alex has the potential to tie up the division because Frito will probably have a very tough matchup against the Tennessee Dynamos. It's just a very scary team, and Frito, while he is getting back into it, he does have the very strong potential to lose to Ethan here. And I think that's going to be it from us. My name is Jatek, signing out, and I'll see you next week, hopefully with Juan, for our Week 6 recap. Have a nice day, Poke fans.